Stop drifting. You can feel it, can you not? That dull ache behind the ribs when night comes and you realize you spent another day busy but not advancing. That is not fatigue. That is your conscience reporting to you you are living beneath your capacity. Most men will call that feeling stress. They will blame the world, the economy, the family, the noise, the past. But I tell you the truth. It is the pain of an unlived purpose. It is the penalty of a mind without a definite chief aim. Now listen carefully, because I am not here to soothe you. I am here to wake you. There is a reason certain men rise as if some invisible hand clears the road for them, while others work 10 times harder and remain in the same place for 10 years. It is not luck. It is not schooling. It is not their birth. It is not even their talent. It is something far more uncomfortable for the average man to admit, because it makes him responsible. You have seen the evidence with your own eyes. 2 men with the same tools, the same hours, the same city, the same chances. One becomes a force. The other becomes an excuse. One walks with quiet command. The other explains himself forever. And here is the most dangerous part. The losing man often looks respectable. He has plans. He has potential. He has good intentions. He has that favorite narcotic of the drifter, tomorrow. If you can be honest, you have lived inside that pattern. The alarm rings, you bargain with it. The day begins, and you surrender it to other people's demands. Evening comes, and you tell yourself you'll make it right when things calm down. But things do not calm down for a drifter. Life does not grow easier for the man who refuses to decide. It grows heavier. And slowly, without a single dramatic failure, he becomes the man he once feared becoming. I want you to imagine a scene that is more common than any man confesses. You sit at a table, the house quiet, the world asleep. You stare at your hands and think, how did I end up here? That moment is not about money, it is about identity. The ultra-successful man is not merely a man with results. He is a man with laws. He lives by a code so definite that temptation cannot negotiate with it. He has habits that make him look obsessed, because he is. Yes, obsessed, not with pleasure, not with applause, not with appearing important. He is obsessed with purpose. He is obsessed with the thing he decided to become. And that obsession, properly directed, turns into power. Do not confuse obsession with emotion. The crowd is emotional. The crowd is excited for 3 days and discouraged for 30. The man of power is not emotional. He is committed. He can be tired and still obey his aim. He can be disappointed and still proceed. Most men wait for motivation like beggars wait for charity. They want to feel ready. They want proof before they move. They want confidence before they act. But the law is the reverse. Action produces confidence, and obedience produces power. If you will listen to this speech with seriousness, I will show you 7 things the ultra-successful man does differently. 7 practices so simple the drifter will overlook them, and so exacting the weak will resist them. But I will not hand them to you like entertainment. These are not tips. They are not tricks. They are not little conveniences you add to a scattered life. These are conditions. They are commands. They are the price of becoming a man who cannot be stopped. Because understand this, success is not something you pursue when you have spare time. Success is something you become when your mind is governed. And your mind will never be governed by wishes, only by decision and habit. You may be thinking, if it is only 7 things, why have I not already discovered them? That question reveals the very problem. Most men look for complexity because it gives them an excuse to delay. Simplicity demands action. And the first thing the ultra-successful man does differently is this. He does not bargain with himself. He does not conduct daily debates with his own weakness. He gives his subconscious a single order, and then he repeats it until it becomes his nature. But wait. Before we go into the 7, I want to test you with a single question. Answer it quietly. Answer it truthfully. If you do not answer it honestly, nothing else I say will reach you. What do you want so clearly that you would be ashamed to waste another season without it? Not what sounds noble, not what is safe, not what will impress people. What do you want that stirs you when you are alone? What outcome would make you respect yourself again? What aim would make you wake with fire instead of dread? If you cannot answer that, then you have found the reason your life feels scattered. A man without a chief aim is a ship without a rudder, pushed by every wave, proud of his movement, but headed nowhere. Now, here is the strange and wonderful truth. The moment a man selects a definite chief aim and binds himself to it with persistence, the world begins to rearrange. Ideas come. People appear. Doors open, not by magic, by law. And the world will test you the moment you choose. It will place distractions before you like sweet poison. It will offer comfort to buy your future. It will tempt you to return to your old identity for the price of immediate relief. That is why the ultra-successful man is different. He is not merely a man with ambition. Ambition is common. He is a man with discipline, and discipline is rare. He is not driven by mood. He is driven by vow. In the next minutes, I am going to place before you 7 differences, 7 marks of the man who rises. Some will offend you because they will remove your excuses. Some will make you uncomfortable because they will demand that you stop lying to yourself. But if you obey, even one of them, your life will begin to change in ways you can measure. Your days will stop slipping through your fingers. Your mind will stop wandering like a beggar. Your decisions will become clean. Your work will gain weight. And one day, sooner than you think, you will notice something. People will treat you differently. Not because you demanded it, but because your presence will carry a signal. The signal of definiteness. The signal of purpose. The signal of a man who has chosen. So listen like a man whose future is watching. Do not drift through this. Do not half hear it. Take these 7 things as orders. Write them. Repeat them. Apply them while your emotions resist, because that is where power is formed. You have tried trying long enough. Now you will learn what the ultra-successful man does. He becomes so definite, so faithful to his aim, so persistent in his practice, that life has no choice but to yield. Now let us begin with the first difference, because if you miss this one, the other 6 will not matter. I have watched men labor all their lives without ever truly advancing, and I have learned to recognize the condition long before it shows itself in failure. The man rises early, answers every call, attends every obligation, and exhausts himself by nightfall, yet nothing within him feels settled. His body moves, but his mind wanders. He is agreeable, busy, and occupied, yet inwardly divided. He is everywhere except where his life is meant to go. This man does not appear lost to the casual observer. He appears respectable. He keeps engagements, pays dues, honors routine, and speaks of plans with convincing language. But beneath the surface, his thoughts pull in opposing directions. He has no single command ruling his conduct. His days are filled, but his destiny is empty. He is not idle, he is ungoverned. I have found that the most dangerous condition a man can inhabit is not failure, poverty, or defeat. It is the habit of motion without intention. Such a man mistakes activity for progress and comfort for safety. He confuses effort with commitment and time spent with ground gained. He believes he is moving because he is tired, yet he arrives nowhere because he has chosen nothing. There comes a moment in every man's life when he must either take possession of his own mind or remain a tenant within it forever. That moment arrives quietly. It is not announced by ceremony or crisis. It appears as an unease that cannot be silenced, a pressure that builds without explanation, a sense that life is demanding something definite and receiving only excuses in return. The ultra-successful man feels this pressure more intensely than others. Long before his name is known or his work rewarded, He carries an inner weight that refuses to leave him at peace. He does not yet have the proof, the income, or the applause. What he has is tension. And that tension is not a sign of inadequacy. It is evidence of unused power. Most men misread this signal. They call it stress, dissatisfaction, or bad fortune. They seek distraction from it rather than instruction. But the man who will rise learns to listen. He understands that the mind rebels when it is denied direction. The pressure is the subconscious demanding leadership. It is the seed of purpose pressing against neglect. I have known men who mistook this inner fire for restlessness and wasted years attempting to quiet it with comfort. They changed occupations, locations, companions, and habits, yet the unease followed them like a shadow. Only when they selected a definite direction did the pressure transform into power. Order calmed what wandering could not. There was once a quiet clerk whose duties were so ordinary that no one thought to remember his name. He arrived on time, performed his work faithfully, and departed without remark. He asked no favors and made no demands. Those around him considered him dependable but unremarkable. He was the kind of man the world passes daily without notice. Yet within him lived a single unresolved thought. He felt the same pressure I have described, a sense that he was meant to serve a larger end. He did not speak of it, for he had no proof. One evening, after years of silent conflict, he made a decision so firm that it startled even himself. He resolved to give his life to one definite aim, and to refuse all compromise with lesser purposes. From that night forward, his conduct changed before his circumstances did. He studied with intention instead of curiosity. He worked with direction instead of obedience. He began to select his thoughts and reject distractions. To others, he appeared stubborn, even unreasonable. But in truth, he had become governed. Years later, when his name was known and his influence felt across an entire field of enterprise, men said he had been lucky. They spoke of opportunity and timing. They never saw the night he stopped allowing chance, habit, and other people to vote on his future. They did not witness the moment he claimed mental sovereignty. This is the true beginning of power. Not the discovery of purpose, but the selection of it. Purpose is not found by wandering, nor revealed by comfort. It is chosen by decision and enforced by habit. Until a man selects a ruling aim, life will select one for him, and it will always choose convenience over greatness. Most men allow their future to be shaped by what feels easiest today. They accept the opinions of others as instruction, the expectations of circumstance as law, and the habits of yesterday as destiny. They do not decide, they drift. And drifting always leads to the same harbor, regret disguised as respectability. Life itself resists the man who refuses to choose. Obstacles multiply, confusion deepens, and effort yields diminishing returns. This resistance is not punishment. It is the law responding to indecision. When a man lives without a central aim, every force pulls against him. When he selects one, those same forces begin to align. Society rewards conformity early. It praises obedience, agreement, and predictability in youth. But it does not reward these traits in the end. History does not remember the agreeable man. It remembers the definite one. The very qualities that make a man acceptable in the beginning make him invisible later. The ultra-successful man understands this long before the world does. He becomes internally severe with himself, while others indulge comfort. He demands clarity of thought, discipline of action, and loyalty to his chosen aim. He does not wait for permission to become serious. He becomes serious first, and permission follows in the form of results. This severity is not cruelty, it is respect. A man who respects his own potential refuses to live without direction. He does not negotiate daily with weakness. He does not postpone obedience to his aim until conditions are ideal. He begins where he stands with what he has, and he repeats his chosen course until habit makes it effortless. The transformation begins quietly. The man starts to speak differently to himself. He stops explaining his lack of progress and starts correcting it. He measures his days not by exhaustion, but by alignment. He asks one question repeatedly: did my actions today serve the thing I have chosen to become? Others may not notice at first, but something in his bearing changes. His movements gain economy. His speech gains weight. He listens more and explains less. He is no longer available for every distraction, every request, every diversion that once claimed his time. He has selected a direction, and direction simplifies life. I have observed that when a man commits himself to a definite aim, his environment begins to test him immediately. Old habits call for loyalty. Familiar voices question his seriousness. Comfort offers itself as a bribe. These tests are not obstacles. They are examinations. They reveal whether the decision was real or merely spoken. The man who passes these tests does not argue with them. He does not defend his choice or seek approval. He proceeds. Each refusal strengthens his authority over himself. Each act of obedience deepens his faith. Slowly, the inner pressure that once caused unrest becomes a steady force that drives him forward. This is the moment when identity begins to shift. The man no longer asks what he feels like doing. He asks what his aim requires. He no longer waits for inspiration. He creates it through action. He understands that power comes not from knowing what to do, but from doing it consistently. I want you to understand this clearly. The unease you have felt is not your enemy. It is your summons. It is life demanding that you choose a direction worthy of your capacity. The pain of confusion is the price of delay. The peace of purpose is the reward of decision. When a man finally says with full responsibility, "I am no longer available for a life without direction," something irrevocable occurs. His mind begins to organize itself. His thoughts fall into rank. His actions acquire meaning. And the world, which once seemed indifferent, begins to respond. This is not sudden fortune. It is law, the same law that governs all achievement. Definiteness of aim is the first command. Without it, no amount of effort will produce power. With it, even small actions compound into destiny. I have seen men of modest means rise beyond those of superior education and talent simply because they chose a direction and refused to abandon it. I have seen men of brilliance fail because they never submitted themselves to a single purpose. Ability without direction scatters. Direction without brilliance concentrates. If you will take nothing else from this part, take this. Stop living as though your life is a collection of obligations. It is an assignment, and no assignment is fulfilled accidentally. Select the thing you will serve. Bind yourself to it. Repeat your decision until it becomes your nature. The man who refuses to drift has taken the first step toward mastery. He has ceased to be a passenger in his own life. He has taken the wheel. And from this moment forward, everything else becomes possible. When a man first takes possession of his direction, he soon discovers a second and subtler battle awaiting him. It is not fought with circumstance or other people, but within the walls of his own mind. For although he may have chosen a definite course, his thoughts still wander like unruly servants, each issuing its own demand, each pulling toward a different end. Direction without mental order soon collapses into strain. Most men live as though their minds were public marketplaces. Every passing impression is allowed entry. Every opinion is entertained. Every fear is given a voice. They wonder why they feel conflicted, uncertain, and weak, never realizing that they have given their inner authority away, piece by piece. Power cannot reside where command is divided. The ultra-successful man understands something the average man never stops to examine. The mind does not respond to wishes, explanations, or education. It responds to orders, and it will obey the last order repeated with authority, not the most intelligent order, not the most reasonable one, the one spoken most often. This is where most men betray themselves daily without noticing. They speak one desire in the morning and contradict it by noon. They declare ambition aloud, then rehearse doubt silently. They promise discipline, then excuse delay. Their words cancel each other like opposing forces, leaving the subconscious without a clear instruction to execute. I do not speak of hopeful affirmations or emotional encouragement. I speak of command. The difference is absolute. Hope asks. Command directs. The subconscious mind is a faithful servant, but it is also literal. It cannot serve two masters. When given conflicting instructions, it defaults to habit, comfort, and fear, because those commands have been repeated longest. Consider how a man speaks to himself when no one listens. He does not merely think, he instructs. Every complaint is an order for weakness. Every excuse is a command for delay. Every repeated fear is a blueprint handed to the subconscious for construction. And once built, these inner structures appear to the man as fate. The ultra-successful man becomes ruthless with his inner language long before he becomes ruthless with the world. He simplifies. He removes excess thought as a general removes undisciplined troops. He gives his mind one ruling order and repeats it until every lesser thought either submits or disappears. This simplification is mistaken by others as stubbornness. They accuse him of narrowness, repetition, and obsession. They believe intelligence lies in entertaining many ideas. They do not understand that power lies in executing one. The man of command would rather be effective than impressive. There once lived a man whose associates believed him unreasonable to the point of folly. He spoke of the same idea day after day. When questioned, he returned to it. When challenged, he repeated it. When mocked, he refined it. He did not attempt to win arguments. He attempted to impress his aim upon his own mind. To the casual observer, he appeared limited. To the thoughtful observer, he appeared unmoved. Years later, when his idea reshaped an entire industry and forced others to adapt to his vision, those same critics called him persistent, original, and forceful. They never understood that his power came not from novelty, but from repetition. Repetition is not weakness, it is authority. The man who repeats himself is either confused or in command. The difference lies in intention. When repetition is used to escape decision, it weakens. When it is used to enforce decision, it strengthens. The subconscious cannot resist what is calmly and consistently impressed upon it. I have observed that long before results appear, others begin to sense something in the man who governs his inner speech. They may not understand it, but they respond to it. His words carry less explanation and more certainty. His presence feels settled. People trust him without knowing why. This reaction is not accidental. The mind broadcasts its state. Conflicting thoughts produce uncertainty that others detect instinctively. Ordered thought produces confidence that needs no advertisement. Men follow certainty as naturally as they avoid confusion. The ultra-successful man therefore adopts spoken self-instruction as a daily discipline, not as a mood lifter, but as a drill. He speaks his chosen aim aloud, clearly and repeatedly. He does not wait until he feels convinced. He speaks until conviction forms. Faith, as I have taught it, is not belief without evidence. It is belief built by disciplined repetition. The mind accepts as truth that which it hears often, especially when spoken with calm authority. What begins as deliberate speech becomes accepted reality, then instinctive behavior. Most men reverse this process. They wait to feel confident before they speak with confidence. They wait to feel strong before they act strong. They wait for proof before they believe. By then, habit has already decided their fate. The man of mastery speaks first and feels later. He issues the command and allows emotion to follow obedience. He understands that speech directed inward is creative force. Each word is a brick laid in the structure of identity. Listen carefully, for this is where the difference between wishing and becoming is decided. The man who will rise does not ask himself what he feels capable of. He tells himself what he is becoming. He does not debate his aim daily. He enforces it. When doubt appears, he does not wrestle with it. He overrides it with repetition. When fear speaks, he does not analyze it. He replaces it. The subconscious does not argue, it complies. I instruct men to write their central aim and read it aloud morning and night, not as ceremony, but as command. The repetition is not for memory, it is for authority. Each reading strengthens the order. Each spoken word deepens obedience. You may resist this discipline at first. The mind accustomed to wandering resents restraint. It will suggest that repetition is foolish, unnecessary, or childish. This resistance is proof that the practice is necessary. Disorder always resists order. Persist. Speak your instruction daily. Speak it without excitement, without apology, without variation. Let the words become familiar. Familiarity breeds acceptance. Acceptance becomes belief. Belief expresses itself as action. There comes a moment when the man notices that his inner dialogue has changed without effort. The old phrases no longer arise. The new command answers automatically. At that moment, habit has been installed. The mind has been given a single order. From this point forward, progress accelerates. Decision becomes easier. Distraction loses its power. The man does not need to force himself constantly. He has trained himself. He has done what few men will do. He has brought his inner world under law. I want you to begin preparing for this identity now. Speak these commands, not as hope, but as instruction. I have selected my aim, and I obey it daily. My mind accepts only thoughts that serve my purpose. I speak with certainty because I have decided. I repeat my direction until it becomes my nature. These are not encouragements. They are orders. And when given consistently, they will be executed. The man who gives his mind one order instead of many has solved the problem that defeats most men. He has removed inner contradiction. He has established authority. He has become governable by purpose instead of impulse. And once a man has learned to command his own thoughts, he is prepared for the next law, action without waiting for confidence. The moment a man brings his thoughts under order, he encounters a truth that unsettles the unprepared. Clarity of mind does not immediately produce comfort. It produces demand. The newly governed mind begins to insist upon action, and this is where most men falter again. They wait for a feeling they call readiness. They postpone movement until confidence arrives. They do not realize that confidence is never the cause of action, but its reward. The belief that confidence must come first is one of the most paralyzing errors taught by custom. Men assume that certainty is a prerequisite for motion, when in truth motion is the only thing that creates certainty. Confidence is born from obedience, not contemplation. It is the child of action taken in spite of doubt. The ultra-successful man understands this instinctively. He does not ask himself how he feels before he moves. He asks whether the action aligns with his aim. He acts while uncertain, while tired, while imperfectly prepared. He moves not because he is fearless, but because he has decided that hesitation is more costly than error. I have watched men of great potential weight themselves into mediocrity by demanding emotional assurance before action. They study, plan, discuss, and revise endlessly, believing they are being prudent. In truth, they are training themselves to associate decision with delay. Each pause strengthens the habit of inaction. The man who will rise trains himself differently. He conditions his nervous system to respond to decision with movement. When the order is given, he acts. He does not permit debate to reopen what decision has closed. This discipline restores inner order more quickly than any amount of reasoning. There was once a man who proposed an idea so audacious that trained minds dismissed it as impossible. Engineers shook their heads. Experts listed obstacles. Friends advised caution. He possessed neither the proof nor the assurance that success was guaranteed. What he possessed was a refusal to retreat once he had decided. He moved forward under ridicule. He acted without visible confirmation. He demanded effort from others before results justified belief. Years later, when the same men who doubted him benefited from his creation, they spoke of his confidence as though it had existed from the beginning. They never saw the uncertainty he overcame through action. Delay, repeated daily, trains weakness into the system. The body learns to hesitate. The mind learns to doubt. The will learns to negotiate. Over time, even small decisions feel heavy. The man becomes cautious where he should be decisive and timid where he should be firm. Decision, on the other hand, cuts mental noise. The moment a man decides and acts, conflicting thoughts lose their power. Energy that was scattered by debate gathers behind motion. The mind quiets because it has been given direction. Order returns through obedience. You can observe this transformation physically. The man who acts decisively carries himself differently. His posture straightens. His movements become deliberate. His voice loses uncertainty. Others sense the change without understanding its cause. They respond to the signal of leadership, not the explanation of plans. Hesitation is more dangerous than error because it compounds invisibly. A mistake teaches. Hesitation trains fear. A mistake can be corrected. Hesitation becomes habit. The man who delays loses momentum, and momentum is the ally of courage. I do not instruct men to act recklessly. I instruct them to act decisively. There is a profound difference. Recklessness ignores consequence. Decisiveness accepts consequence and moves anyway. One is weakness disguised as boldness. The other is strength expressed through discipline. Mistakes, when they occur, are tuition paid to the law of mastery. No man escapes them. The difference lies in interpretation. The weak man reads error as evidence of incapacity. The strong man reads it as instruction. He adjusts and continues. Power gathers around men who move first and explain later. Life responds to initiative. Opportunity follows those who step forward while others wait for certainty. The world makes room for men who commit themselves fully to a course of action. I want you to understand this deeply. Confidence is not something you acquire and then use. It is something you use and then acquire. Each act of obedience strengthens it. Each completed task reinforces it. Over time, what once required effort becomes instinct. Train yourself now to act when your aim requires it, not when your emotions approve it. Let your decision outrank your feelings. The man who can do this has crossed a threshold few ever approach. You are now prepared to understand the next distinction, the quiet obsession that transforms obedience into inevitability. When a man has learned to decide and to act without bargaining for confidence, something remarkable begins to take shape within him. His effort acquires continuity. His actions cease to be isolated events and become a steady current. It is here that the crowd misjudges him most severely, because what they observe looks like obsession, and obsession frightens men who live by impulse. The word itself has been abused by misunderstanding. Obsession is commonly associated with excess emotion, imbalance, and loss of control. But the obsession that builds power is of a different nature altogether. It is not frenzy. It is loyalty. It is the quiet, unyielding faithfulness to a vow once taken and never reconsidered. The ultra-successful man is not excited about his aim in the way the crowd is excited by novelty. The crowd burns hot and dies quickly. Their enthusiasm flares and fades. They speak loudly, promise greatly, and tire easily. The man of power moves under steady pressure. He does not need stimulation. He has commitment. You can measure the difference by observing how men behave when no one is watching. The crowd relaxes discipline in private. The obsessed man does not. He does not require an audience to obey his standards. His vow is present whether others approve or not. This is why his strength grows while others stall. The days of the ultra-successful man are not arranged around comfort, convenience, or pleasure. They are arranged around his aim. He rises, works, studies, and rests in obedience to a central purpose. Comfort is permitted only insofar as it does not interfere with direction. This is not punishment, it is clarity. Most men exhaust themselves deciding what to do next. The obsessed man is spared this waste. His aim has already decided for him. Each question is answered by reference to his purpose. Each opportunity is measured against it. Distraction loses its appeal when a man knows exactly where he is going. This repetition of effort compounds invisibly for a long time. To the casual observer, nothing appears to change. The man works in obscurity. His progress is internal. His habits strengthen. His skill deepens. His understanding matures. Others mistake this season for stagnation because they judge only what they can see. There was once a man who labored year after year in conditions that offered no recognition. He rose early and remained late. He refined his work while others sought applause. He endured mockery for his intensity and was labeled narrow for his focus. Those around him believed he was wasting his life. They did not know that repetition was engraving mastery into his being. They did not see that each day of obscurity was laying foundation. When the moment arrived that demanded his kind of preparation, he appeared to rise suddenly. To him, it was not sudden at all. It was inevitable. Obsession simplifies decision. When a man is loyal to his vow, he does not struggle with choice. He does not waste energy on alternatives. The mind settles because it has accepted direction. Peace follows not from ease, but from certainty. This certainty has an effect on others that is difficult to describe, but impossible to deny. Consistency intimidates weaker men because it exposes their own inconsistency. They feel judged without accusation. They respond with criticism, humor, or dismissal. The obsessed man does not reply. He proceeds. At the same time, consistency attracts opportunity. Men who control resources seek reliability. They look for those who can be trusted to persist when enthusiasm fades. They recognize in the obsessed man a rare quality, predictability of purpose. Such men are invited where others are tested. Purpose gives a man weight. When he enters a room, something registers. He does not need to dominate conversation or display authority. His presence carries quiet command. He listens with attention. He speaks with restraint. Others sense that he is governed by something larger than impulse. This weight is not arrogance. It is alignment. The man has aligned his thoughts, habits, and actions with a single aim. There is no inner contradiction to leak outward. The absence of inner conflict produces composure. Composure commands respect. Obsession, properly understood, is simply faith applied daily. It is faith that shows up on time. Faith that works when tired. Faith that repeats the same discipline when novelty has vanished. This is the faith that moves circumstances, not by spectacle, but by persistence. Most men attempt to live by inspiration. Inspiration is unreliable. It comes and goes. The obsessed man lives by schedule. He does not wait to feel driven. He drives himself through habit. Habit is faith made automatic. You may think this path is severe. It is not. It is merciful. It frees a man from the endless negotiation with himself that drains energy. Once obsession has replaced indecision, effort becomes lighter. The man no longer carries the burden of choice. He carries only the task. Others may accuse him of imbalance. They will suggest moderation, leisure, and diversion. They speak from their own fear of commitment. The obsessed man understands that greatness requires seasons of intensity. He does not apologize for this. He knows that sacrifice is temporary, but regret is permanent. As his loyalty continues, something else occurs. His aim begins to return its loyalty to him. Ideas appear, assistance emerges, timing improves. These are not accidents. They are the law responding to sustained obedience. The man begins to notice that obstacles which once delayed him now yield more quickly. People who once doubted him now inquire. Situations rearrange themselves around his persistence. The world responds to men who do not retreat. I instruct you now to adopt this standard, not as emotion, but as vow. Speak it as command. I am loyal to my aim beyond comfort. I apply faith daily through action. I persist when others pause. I do not retreat from my decision. Repeat these words until they cease to feel spoken and begin to feel lived. Endurance is not a gift. It is a habit. Loyalty is not an accident. It is practiced. The quiet obsession that makes a man dangerous is built one obedient day at a time. You are now approaching a transformation that will unsettle those around you. The law of withdrawing from weak influences without explanation. As a man's loyalty to his aim hardens into habit, a quiet change occurs that few are prepared to understand. He becomes selective, not loudly, not dramatically. He does not announce his withdrawal or explain his reasons. He simply ceases to be available for influences that weaken his direction. This, more than any other step, is misunderstood by the crowd. The ultra-successful man becomes selective long before he becomes celebrated. In fact, his selectiveness is often the very reason he is misunderstood during his formative years. Others mistake his restraint for coldness, his silence for pride, his absence for disinterest. They cannot see that he is protecting something fragile and powerful at the same time, his faith. Most men believe separation is arrogance. They imagine that to step back from certain conversations, habits, or companions is an insult. This belief keeps them bound to environments that slowly drain initiative. Separation, as I teach it, is not rejection of others, it is respect for oneself. Environment trains belief silently. This is a law few recognize until it has already shaped them. A man absorbs the expectations, doubts, and standards of those he spends time with, not through argument, but through repetition. He begins to think what they think is reasonable. He begins to accept what they accept as normal. Without noticing, his aim is negotiated downward. Negative voices rarely sound hostile. They sound sensible. They speak the language of caution, balance, and realism. They do not shout discouragement. They whisper delay. They advise moderation when intensity is required. They counsel patience when decision is needed. Their danger lies in their tone of reason. I have known men of promise who allowed themselves to be surrounded by such voices. They were not attacked. They were sympathized with. Their doubts were affirmed. Their delays were excused. Slowly, their urgency dissolved. Their aim became theoretical. And one day they awoke to find that the fire they once felt had cooled beyond recall. There was once a man who walked alone for years, though he did not intend to. He did not reject others, but he found that fewer could walk his pace. He spoke less of his plans because explanation invited debate. He labored quietly while acquaintances speculated about his choices. Many believed he had withdrawn because he had failed. They did not know that solitude was shaping him. In the absence of constant opinion, his thoughts grew stronger. Without the need to defend himself, his convictions deepened. When his work finally emerged into view, the same men who had doubted him sought his counsel. They mistook the years of solitude for mystery. Drifting spreads socially like a contagion. Men who have not decided unconsciously resist those who have. The presence of a definite man unsettles them. It exposes their own indecision. Rather than confront it, they attempt to soften his resolve with familiarity and humor. If they cannot slow him, they distance themselves. The disciplined man understands this reaction and does not resent it. He does not attempt to convert others or demand understanding. He simply maintains his standard. He chooses association carefully, not by affection, but by alignment. He seeks those whose habits reinforce faith, not erode it. Discipline in association strengthens belief. A single conversation with a purposeful mind can restore weeks of effort. Conversely, an hour in a drifting environment can undo days of resolve. The ultra-successful man weighs this law carefully. He guards his company as he guards his time. When a man stops explaining himself, others react in predictable ways. Some accuse him of secrecy. Some attempt to provoke justification. Some feel excluded. The man who is rising resists the urge to clarify. Explanation is often an invitation to compromise. Silence preserves authority. Solitude is often preparation, not punishment. Nature itself works this way. Seeds develop underground. Foundations are laid unseen. The man who is becoming must sometimes be removed from noise so that he can hear his own direction clearly. This withdrawal is temporary, but its effects are permanent. Quiet men unsettle those who live by noise. The absence of reaction makes others uncomfortable. They attempt to fill the silence with commentary, speculation, or advice. The disciplined man listens without absorbing. He does not argue. He does not defend. He returns to his work. This withdrawal does not make him isolated. It makes him focused. When he does engage, his words carry weight because they are not wasted. He has learned that attention is a resource, and he spends it deliberately. I instruct you now to examine your associations without sentimentality. Ask not who you like, but who strengthens your aim. Ask not who understands you, but who respects discipline. If an environment weakens your resolve, withdraw without explanation. You owe no apology for protecting your future. This practice will test your courage. Loneliness will visit briefly. Doubt will question your choice. Persist. These are signs that separation is working. Soon, clarity will replace confusion. Strength will replace dependence. You will find that your own company is sufficient while you build. And when the time comes to re-enter broader circles, you will do so from authority, not need. You will choose, not be chosen. The man who has learned to withdraw from weak influences has learned to stand alone. And that is the position from which leadership is born. From this discipline emerges another distinguishing habit, one that turns character into reputation and effort into opportunity, the habit of going beyond agreement. When a man has learned to stand alone without resentment, another law begins to demand obedience. It is a law so simple that most men dismiss it, and so exacting that few are willing to live by it consistently. This law separates the man who is merely competent from the man who becomes indispensable. It is the habit of giving more than is required, long before reward is guaranteed. Most men measure their effort by agreement. They ask, "What am I expected to do?" and then do exactly that. No more, no less. They treat duty as a boundary instead of a starting point. They believe fairness lies in equivalence, not excellence. This belief keeps them average, no matter how talented they may be. The ultra-successful man obeys a different standard. He does not ask what is required of him. He asks what is possible through him. He uses agreement as the floor, not the ceiling. He understands that identity is enforced through action, not intention. Each time he exceeds his own promise, he strengthens his authority over himself. This habit is not generosity in the sentimental sense, it is discipline. It is the quiet refusal to live at the minimum. The man who gives more than required does so whether he is observed or not. He does not perform for praise, he performs to meet his own standard. I have observed that excellence creates leverage without negotiation. The man who consistently gives more than expected gains influence without asking for it. He becomes difficult to replace. His value is felt before it is measured. Opportunity seeks him because reliability is rare. There was once a worker whose position offered no distinction. His tasks were routine, his pay modest, his prospects limited. Yet he made a decision that altered his fate. He resolved that whatever he touched would carry his signature of care. He did not rush, he did not complain. He improved quietly. Others noticed before he did. Responsibilities increased. Trust followed. When advancement came, it appeared sudden to those watching. To him, it was merely the visible result of an invisible habit practiced daily. Effort given freely multiplies returns because it trains character. Each act beyond agreement reinforces self-respect. The man learns that he can rely on himself to exceed expectation. This knowledge builds confidence deeper than applause ever could. Resentment comes not from hard work, but from half effort. The man who gives less than he is capable of feels diminished. He blames the task, the employer, the circumstance. The man who gives fully feels pride, even when unrecognized. Pride earned honestly sustains effort. As this habit continues, others begin to depend on the man who over-delivers. They consult him, trust him, and assign him greater responsibility. Leadership gathers naturally around those who carry more than their share without complaint. This pride is not boastful. It is internal. It is the quiet knowledge that one has honored his capacity. The ultra-successful man measures himself by his own standard, not by comparison. He competes only with the man he was yesterday. I instruct you to adopt this habit deliberately. Whatever your task, do it as though it were preparation for a greater one. Whatever your role, perform it as though it were chosen. This is how obscurity is turned into training. Speak these commands and live them. I give more than I'm required to give. I honor my capacity through excellence. I exceed my own promises daily. I build authority through service. The man who lives by this law transforms effort into destiny. He no longer waits to be noticed. He becomes impossible to ignore. And now there remains one final distinction: the state in which a man becomes predictable to himself and unstoppable to the world. There comes a stage in the evolution of a man when effort no longer feels heroic and discipline no longer feels heavy. The struggle that once consumed him gives way to something far more powerful and far more dangerous to the forces that oppose him: reliability. This is the final distinction. This is the point at which a man ceases to surprise himself with inconsistency and begins to trust his own conduct absolutely. Most men live at the mercy of their moods. They wake uncertain of how they will perform. They negotiate with themselves daily. They hope they will follow through, but they are never certain. This uncertainty poisons confidence at its root. A man cannot fully trust the world until he trusts himself, and most men have broken too many inner promises to stand on solid ground. The ultra-successful man has crossed beyond this condition. He has trained himself into predictability, not predictability to others alone, but to himself. When he decides, he acts. When he commits, he persists. When he sets a standard, he obeys it whether he feels inspired or not. This consistency is not dramatic, but it is decisive. Excitement is no longer his fuel. Reliability has replaced it. He does not require emotional peaks to perform. He does not collapse when enthusiasm fades. His work continues with the same firmness on dull days as on triumphant ones. This steadiness gives him an advantage that no burst of passion can equal. I have observed that when a man becomes reliable to himself, fear loses its grip. Fear feeds on uncertainty. It thrives where promises are broken and decisions are postponed. When a man knows beyond argument that he will do what he has resolved to do, fear has no place to anchor itself. This is why ultra-successful men trust themselves absolutely. They do not hope they will rise early. They know they will. They do not wonder if they will complete the task. They have trained themselves to finish. This trust creates calm. Calm sharpens judgment. Judgment accelerates progress. Habit has replaced willpower. Willpower is exhausting because it relies on constant resistance. Habit is effortless because it runs without debate. The man who has installed the right habits no longer struggles with himself. He simply proceeds. This transformation does not occur suddenly. It is earned through countless small acts of obedience. Each kept promise strengthens the bond between intention and action. Each completed task reinforces identity. Over time, the man becomes the kind of person who does not surprise himself with failure. The world yields to such men because it can rely on them. Opportunities gravitate toward reliability. Responsibility is entrusted to those who prove they can carry it. Influence follows predictability of character. The man who keeps his inner promises becomes a force others depend upon. You will notice a change in how people respond to you when you reach this state. They will seek your judgment. They will ask for guidance. They will sense that you are governed by principle rather than impulse. Leadership is not claimed. It is recognized. Fear dissolves as identity solidifies. The man no longer asks who he might become. He knows who he is becoming because he has observed his own behavior. Evidence has replaced hope. Confidence is no longer imagined. It is proven daily. Life accelerates once indecision is removed. Hours once lost to debate are now invested in execution. Energy once wasted on doubt is redirected toward creation. Momentum builds naturally. The man feels carried forward by his own order. Success is not chased at this stage. It is attracted by alignment. The man's thoughts, habits, and actions move in the same direction. There is no friction. Power flows through order. This is the final reward of discipline. I want you to understand that obsession with purpose is not sacrifice. It is freedom. Freedom from confusion. Freedom from regret. Freedom from the exhausting cycle of starting and stopping. The man who lives by purpose is free because he is no longer divided. Speak these final commands and live them without exception. I keep my promises to myself. I act with certainty because I have trained myself. I am reliable in thought, word, and deed. My life moves forward under law and order. When you reach this state, you will not need encouragement. You will not seek permission. You will not ask whether you are ready. You will move, and the world will adjust. This is the end of drifting. This is the beginning of inevitability.